My name is Burl Thompson, and I'm 69 years old. For 47 years, I worked as a janitor, a housekeeper, a nanny, and anything else that would pay the bills. I raised 3 children on those wages, put them through college, and gave them opportunities I never had. My youngest daughter, Winnie, works as a marketing director at a tech company called BrightPath Solutions. She makes 6 figures, lives in a luxury apartment, and looks down on me because I cleaned houses for a living. Last month, at my granddaughter's birthday party, Winnie told the whole family I was useless and an embarrassment. She said I'd never accomplished anything meaningful, never built anything, never contributed to society beyond scrubbing toilets. I didn't argue with her. I didn't defend myself. I just smiled and stayed quiet. Because 3 days later, I was scheduled to sign papers making me the majority owner of BrightPath Solutions, the company where Winnie works. And when I walked into that company as the new owner, when I saw the look on Winnie's face as she realized her useless mother now controlled her career, her salary, her entire future. The silence was deafening. It was a Monday morning, exactly 1 week after my granddaughter's birthday party. I walked into BrightPath Solutions headquarters at 9 a.m., dressed in a simple purple blouse and black pants. Nothing fancy, just clean and professional. The receptionist looked up. "Can I help you?" "I'm here for the all-staff meeting," I said calmly. "Are you with the cleaning service?" she asked, eyeing my simple clothes. I smiled. "No, I'm the new majority owner. My name is Burl Thompson." The receptionist's eyes went wide. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, Ms. Thompson. Let me call someone to escort you." "That's fine," I said. "I know where the conference room is." I walked through the sleek modern office, past cubicles and glass-walled meeting rooms, toward the large conference room where all 150 employees were gathering. As I entered, conversations stopped. People stared. I could hear whispers. "Who is that? Is she lost? Did someone call maintenance?" I walked to the front of the room where the company's outgoing owner, Homer Chen, stood waiting. "Everyone," Homer said loudly, getting their attention, "I'd like to introduce you to Burl Thompson, the new majority owner of BrightPath Solutions. She's purchased 60% of the company and will be taking over effective immediately." The room erupted in shocked murmurs. And there, in the 3rd row, I saw my daughter Winnie. Her mouth literally fell open. Her eyes went huge. Her face turned ash-white. She looked at me. I looked back at her calmly. "Good morning, Winnie," I said clearly, so everyone could hear. Winnie couldn't speak. She just stared, frozen in complete shock. "Some of you may not know," I continued, addressing the whole room, "but Winnie is my daughter. She works here as a marketing director. And last week, she told our entire family that I was useless, that I'd never accomplished anything, that I was just a cleaning lady who embarrassed her." The room went completely silent. Everyone was staring at Winnie now. "So I thought I'd show her what this useless cleaning lady has actually accomplished," I said. "And what better way than becoming her boss?" I smiled at my daughter's horrified face. "We have a lot of work to do," I told the room. "But first, I'd like to meet individually with each department head, starting with marketing. Winnie, my office, now." Winnie stood on shaking legs and followed me out of the conference room in complete silence. The look on her face, the shock, the horror, the realization that everything had changed, I'll remember it forever. But to understand how I got here, how a useless cleaning lady became the owner of a multi-million-dollar tech company, I need to take you back to the beginning. I was born in 1956 in rural Mississippi. My parents were sharecroppers, poor farmers who worked land they didn't own and barely survived. I was the oldest of 7 children. I left school after 8th grade to help support the family, working in the fields, cleaning houses, doing whatever work I could find. In 1976, when I was 20 years old, I married Judge Thompson. Judge was 22, working at a car factory, making just enough to get by. We moved to Atlanta, hopping for better opportunities. Judge found work at a manufacturing plant. I found work cleaning houses for wealthy families. We had our first child, Sterling, in 1977, our second, Royal, in 1980, and our third, Winnie, in 1985. Judge and I worked constantly. He worked factory shifts. I cleaned houses during the day and worked as a janitor at an office building at night. We were exhausted. We were poor. But we were building something, a better life for our children. For 20 years, I cleaned houses. I scrubbed toilets, mopped floors, washed windows, did laundry. I worked for doctors, lawyers, business executives, people with money and education. And I watched them, listened to them, learned from them. I heard them talk about investments, about stocks, about real estate, about building wealth. I heard them discuss business deals over dinner while I served their food. And I started saving. Not much, just $5 or $10 a week from my cleaning money. Money Judge didn't know about, money I hid away for something special. By 1995, I had $8,000 saved. I used it to buy my first rental property, a small duplex in a rough neighborhood. The mortgage was $300 a month. I rented each unit for $400. After mortgage and repairs, I made about $300 profit per month. I saved every penny of it. By 2000, I'd saved enough to buy a second property, then a third, then a fourth. By 2010, I owned 12 rental properties, bringing in about $4,000 a month in profit, all while still working as a housekeeper and janitor. Judge knew I had some rental properties. He didn't know how many or how much they were worth. He was focused on his factory work and raising our kids. And our kids, they didn't know about the properties at all. They just knew Mom cleaned houses and worked night shifts as a janitor. Even though I'd only finished 8th grade, I educated myself. I read books about real estate, investing, business. I took free classes at the library about financial literacy. I learned everything I could about building wealth. And I made sure my children got the education I never had. Sterling went to Georgia State University on a partial scholarship. I paid the rest with my rental income. He graduated with a degree in engineering. Royal went to Morehouse College. Again, I paid what scholarships didn't cover. He got a degree in business. And Winnie, my youngest, went to Emory University. I paid her full tuition, $45,000 per year, from my rental income. She got a degree in marketing. All 3 of my children graduated college debt-free. They didn't have student loans. They didn't have to work through school. They could focus entirely on their education. Because I was working 3 jobs and managing rental properties to pay for it all. They never knew. They just thought scholarships covered everything and we made it work somehow. After my children graduated and started their careers, something shifted. They became ashamed of me. Sterling got a good engineering job at a manufacturing company. He made $75,000 a year, more money than Judge and I had ever seen. He started dressing in expensive suits, living in a nice apartment, dating professional women. And he stopped wanting me to meet his friends or colleagues. "Mom, maybe don't mention you're a janitor if you meet my coworkers," he told me once. "Just say you're retired or something." Royal got a job at a consulting firm making $80,000 a year. He bought a nice car, joined a country club, started acting like he'd always been upper class. "I don't think you should come to my company events, Mom," he said. "It's just, you wouldn't fit in, you know." But Winnie was the worst. Winnie got hired at Bright Path Solutions right out of college, starting at $55,000 a year. Within 5 years, she'd worked her way up to marketing director, making $120,000 annually. She moved into a luxury high-rise apartment. She wore designer clothes. She posted constantly on social media about her successful career and living her best life. And she actively hid me from her friends and colleagues. "Don't come to my office, Mom," she told me bluntly. "I have an image to maintain. People don't need to know my mother is a cleaning lady." "I'm proud of the work I do," I told her. "I work hard, I provide for myself. There's no shame in that." "There's no shame," Winnie agreed. But there's no prestige either. I've worked hard to build my career. I don't need people judging me based on what my parents do. It hurt, but I didn't argue. I just kept working, kept saving, kept building. In 2020, Judge died suddenly of a heart attack. He was 66 years old, still working at the factory, planning to retire in a few years. I was devastated. We'd been married 44 years. He was my partner, my support, my love. At the funeral, my children gave beautiful eulogies about their father, how he'd worked hard, sacrificed for them, given them opportunities. They barely mentioned me. After the funeral, we gathered at my house to settle Judge's affairs. That's when my children discovered something shocking. "Mom," Sterling said, looking at bank statements, "Dad had $15,000 in savings. And these papers say he had a life insurance policy for $50,000. "That's right," I said. That's more money than we expected," Royal said. "How did Dad save that much on a factory salary?" "He was careful with money," I said simply. What I didn't tell them was that I'd been the one managing our finances for decades. The savings, the life insurance, I'd set it all up using profits from my rental properties. But I still wasn't ready to tell them about those properties, about the wealth I'd been quietly building for 25 years. After Judge's death, I received the $50,000 life insurance payment. Combined with the savings and the income from my 12 rental properties, I had about $300,000 in liquid assets, plus properties worth about $2 million total. My children had no idea. They thought I was a poor widow who'd been left $50,000 and would probably have to keep working as a janitor to make ends meet. "Mom, if you need money, we can help a little," Sterling offered. "I know Dad's life insurance isn't much." "I'm fine," I assured him. "I can take care of myself." "You should think about moving into a smaller apartment," Royal suggested. "Maybe find something more affordable." "I like where I live," I said. I own my house outright, had bought it with rental income 10 years earlier. But my children didn't know that either. Winnie just said, "Let us know if you need anything," without offering any actual help. They all went back to their successful lives, confident their poor mother was struggling, but making do somehow. Meanwhile, I was making plans. 6 months after Judge died, I was still working as a housekeeper, not because I needed the money, but because I liked the work and the families I worked for. One of those families was the Chens, Homer Chen and his wife Melvina. Homer was the founder and owner of Bright Path Solutions, a marketing and tech company he'd built over 15 years. I'd been cleaning their house twice a week for 8 years. I knew them well. One day, while I was cleaning their kitchen, Homer came in looking stressed. "Mrs. Thompson, can I ask you something?" he said. "Of course, Mr. Chen," I replied. "You're good with practical advice, right? You've raised children, managed a household." "I suppose so," I said. "I'm thinking about selling my company," Homer said. "I'm 62. I'm tired. I want to retire and travel with Melvina. But I don't know if I should sell to a big corporation or find an individual buyer who'll preserve what I built." "What did you build?" I asked. "A company that treats employees well," Homer said. "That values creativity over corporate bureaucracy. That gives people opportunities to grow. I don't want some corporation buying it and destroying that culture." "Then find a buyer who shares your values," I said simply. Homer sighed. "Easier said than done. Most individual buyers don't have the capital, and most corporations don't care about values." I went back to cleaning, thinking. That evening, I did something I'd never done before. I called Homer and asked if we could meet to discuss something. The next day, I met Homer at a coffee shop. He looked confused but curious. "Mrs. Thompson, what did you want to discuss?" he asked. "Your company," I said. "I'd like to buy it." Homer blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "Bright Path Solutions," I said. "You're looking for a buyer who shares your values. I'm interested." Homer looked uncomfortable. "Mrs. Thompson, I appreciate the interest, but purchasing a company requires significant capital. The valuation is around $15 million. I know, I interrupted. I've been researching the company for the past 24 hours. Revenue, employee count, growth projections. It's a sound investment. But where would you get that kind of money? Homer asked gently. I pulled out a folder with financial documents, bank statements showing my $300,000 in liquid assets, property deeds for my 12 rental properties, my credit score excellent, and a pre-approval letter from a bank for a $10 million business acquisition loan. Homer's eyes went wide as he reviewed the documents. You own 12 rental properties? He asked, shocked. 14 now, I corrected. I bought 2 more last month. But you're a housekeeper, Homer said, still processing. I'm also a real estate investor, I said. I've been building my portfolio for 25 years. I currently have about $3 million in real estate assets and $300,000 in liquid capital. With the bank loan, I can put together the $15 million to purchase your company. Homer sat back stunned. I had no idea. Most people don't, I said. I prefer it that way. Why do you want to buy my company? Homer asked. 2 reasons, I said. First, it's a good investment. You've built something solid with strong growth potential. Second, my daughter works there. Your daughter? Homer asked. Winnie Thompson, I said. She's your marketing director. Homer's face showed recognition. Winnie Thompson is your daughter. Yes, I said. And she's ashamed of me. She thinks I'm just a poor cleaning lady who never accomplished anything. She's told me I'm an embarrassment to her. I'm sorry, Homer said. That must be painful. It is, I admitted. But it's also given me an idea. What better way to show her, and my other children, what I've actually built than by becoming the owner of the company where she works? Homer looked at me with new respect. That's bold. I'm 69 years old, I said. I've spent 47 years being underestimated, dismissed, and looked down on, even by my own children. I'm done being invisible. Homer smiled slowly. Mrs. Thompson, I think we should talk seriously about this purchase. Over the next 3 months, Homer and I negotiated the sale of BrightPath Solutions. I secured the bank loan using my rental properties as collateral. I brought in lawyers and accountants to review everything. I did my due diligence, examining every aspect of the business. And throughout it all, I continued cleaning houses, including Homer's. None of my children knew what I was doing. Finally, we reached an agreement. I would purchase 60% of the company for $9 million. Homer would retain 20% and stay on as a consultant for 2 years. The remaining 20% would be distributed among key employees. The sale was scheduled to close 1 week after my granddaughter's 10th birthday party. My granddaughter Zenobia, Sterling's daughter, turned 10 last month. The whole family gathered at Sterling's house for a birthday celebration. All 3 of my children were there with their families, about 25 people total. I arrived wearing a simple dress, nothing fancy, just clean and appropriate. I brought a modest present for Zenobia, a book she'd mentioned wanting. Winnie took one look at my gift and rolled her eyes. Really, Mom, a book. I got her a new iPad. She asked for this book, I said. She's 10, Winnie said. She doesn't know what she wants. Trust me, she'll prefer the iPad. During the party, I mostly stayed quiet, helping in the kitchen, making sure people had food and drinks. At one point, Winnie was talking loudly to a group that included Sterling, Royal, and several of their friends. I just don't understand people who don't have ambition, Winnie was saying, who are content just doing menial work their whole lives without ever building anything meaningful. Some people are just like that, one of Sterling's friends said. My mom's like that, Winnie said, gesturing toward me in the kitchen. She's been a cleaning lady her whole life, never tried to do anything more, never built anything, never accomplished anything beyond scrubbing toilets. I stopped what I was doing and looked at her. It's honestly kind of embarrassing, Winnie continued, not realizing I could hear. When my colleagues ask about my family, I have to either lie or just avoid the topic. I can't exactly tell them my mother is a janitor. Winnie, Sterling said uncomfortably, noticing I was listening. What? It's true, Winnie said. I love Mom, but she's useless when it comes to anything beyond basic housework. She never learned any real skills, never built a career, never contributed to society in any meaningful way. The room went quiet. Everyone was looking at me now. Is that what you think? I asked quietly. Winnie turned to face me. Mom, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just being honest. You chose a certain path in life, that's fine, but you can't expect me to be proud of it. I see, I said. Don't take it personally, Winnie added. Not everyone is meant to be successful. Some people are just meant to serve others. That's your role, and that's okay. I looked at my daughter, this woman I'd raised, educated, supported, sacrificed for, and felt something shift inside me. You're right, Winnie, I said calmly. I have spent my life serving others, cleaning their houses, caring for their children, making sure they were comfortable. Exactly, Winnie said, missing my tone. But I also did something else, I continued. Something you don't know about, something none of you know about. What are you talking about? Sterling asked. You'll find out soon, I said. Very soon. I picked up my purse and walked out of the party. Behind me, I heard Winnie say, see, she's so dramatic, can't even handle a little honesty. That was 1 week ago, and today I walked into her office as her new boss. Now, standing in what used to be Homer's office, my office now, waiting for Winnie to arrive for our private meeting, I thought about what I was going to say to my daughter. The daughter who called me useless, who was embarrassed by me, who thought I'd never accomplished anything. There was a knock on the door. Come in, I said. Winnie entered, her face still white with shock, her hands shaking. Mom, what? How? She couldn't form a complete sentence. Sit down, Winnie, I said. We need to talk. This story is just beginning. Subscribe now. Hit that like button and turn on NOTFICTONS. Drop a comment. Did Burl do the right thing? 2. How would you react if your parent became your boss? Where are you watching from? United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Jamaica, Australia? Let me know. Winnie sat down across from me in the office that was now mine, her face a mixture of shock, confusion, and the beginning of anger. Mom, what the hell is going on? She finally managed to say. You bought this company. How is that even possible? Where would you get that kind of money? Watch your language, I said calmly. We're in a professional setting now. I'm your employer and you'll speak to me with respect. Winnie's mouth opened and closed like a fish. My employer? Mom, this is insane. You can't just... I can, and I did, I interrupted. I purchased 60% of BrightPath Solutions 3 days ago. The paperwork is filed. It's official. And as of this morning, I'm the majority owner and CEO. But how? Winnie demanded. You're a janitor. You clean houses. You don't have the money to buy a multi-million-dollar company. I'm a janitor who also happens to own 14 rental properties worth approximately $3 million, I said. I'm a woman who's been investing and building wealth for 25 years, while you assumed I was just scrubbing toilets. Winnie stared at me like I was speaking a foreign language. Rental properties, $3 million, that's impossible. We would have known. Why would you know? I asked. You never asked about my finances. You never asked what I did with my money. You just assumed I was poor and struggling because I worked as a housekeeper. Because you are a housekeeper, Winnie said. You work for the Chens, the Washingtons, the... I worked for them, I corrected. Past tense. I gave my notice 2 weeks ago. I don't need those jobs anymore, though I enjoyed the work and the families. This doesn't make sense, Winnie said, shaking her head. If you had all this money, why were you still cleaning houses? Because I liked the work, I said simply. Because it kept me connected to real people doing real things. Because it gave me insight into how wealthy, successful people think and operate. And because nobody expects a housekeeper to be building an empire on the side. Winnie sat back in her chair, her shock morphing into something else. So this whole time, while we thought you were struggling, you were secretly rich. I wasn't secretly rich, I said. I was quietly building wealth. There's a difference. And I was never struggling, you just assumed I was because of my job. Why didn't you tell us? Winnie asked. Would you have cared? I asked bluntly. Would it have changed how you treated me, how you were embarrassed by me, how you called me useless at your niece's birthday party? Winnie had the grace to look ashamed. I didn't mean. You meant every word, I said. You told a room full of people that I'd never accomplished anything meaningful, that I was an embarrassment, that I was useless beyond basic housework. I was talking, Winnie said weakly. You were being cruel, I corrected. To the woman who raised you, who worked 3 jobs to put you through college, who paid your full tuition at Emory so you could graduate debt-free. Winnie's eyes widened. You paid my tuition. I thought scholarships. There were no scholarships, I said. That was a story I told you so you wouldn't feel guilty. I paid every penny of your $180,000 education with money from my rental properties. What? Winnie whispered. And Sterling's education at Georgia State, I continued. And Royals at Morehouse. I paid for all 3 of you. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in total. Money I earned from investments you didn't know I had. Winnie looked like she might cry. Why didn't you tell us? Because I wanted you to focus on your education without feeling pressure, I said. I wanted you to have opportunities I never had. I wanted you to succeed. And we did succeed, Winnie said. We all have good careers, good lives. Built on a foundation I provided, I said. But instead of being grateful, you were ashamed. Instead of respecting me, you dismissed me. Instead of seeing my sacrifices, you only saw my job title. Winnie was crying now. I'm sorry, Mom, I didn't know. You didn't want to know, I said. You wanted to believe I was just a poor cleaning lady so you could feel superior, so you could look down on me, so you could be embarrassed by me without guilt. That's not fair, Winnie protested weakly. Isn't it? I asked. Last week you told your family I was useless, that I'd never built anything, that I'd never contributed to society. Those were your exact words. Winnie wiped her eyes. I was wrong, I'm sorry. Sorry isn't enough, I said. Sorry doesn't erase years of disrespect. Sorry doesn't change the fact that you were ashamed of the mother who sacrificed everything for you. We sat in tense silence. So what happens now? Winnie finally asked. Are you going to fire me? No, I said. You're good at your job. Homer speaks highly of your work, and I'm not petty enough to fire you just because you hurt my feelings. Winnie looked relieved. Thank you. But things are going to change, I continued. I'm your boss now. You'll report to me. You'll follow my directions. And you'll treat me with the respect you should have been showing all along. Of course, Winnie said quickly. And one more thing, I added. You're going to help me tell your brothers about all of this weekend, family dinner at my house. Winnie's face fell. Do we have to tell them? Yes, I said firmly. They need to know the truth, all of it. After Winnie left my office, shaken but still employed, I spent the rest of the day touring BrightPath Solutions and meeting with employees. Homer had built a good company, about 150 employees, mostly young professionals in marketing, tech development, and client services. The culture was casual but professional. People seemed happy. Several employees approached me throughout the day, curious about the new owner. Ms. Thompson, what's your background? One young man asked. Have you owned other companies? No, I said honestly. I've worked in property management for many years, but this is my first business acquisition. That's brave, a young woman said, taking over a tech company without tech experience. I'm not here to code or design, I said. I'm here to manage the business, support the employees, and maintain the culture Homer built. I have people with tech expertise. That's what employees like you are for. They seemed to appreciate the honesty. Later that afternoon, I called a meeting with the department heads, the managers who ran different areas of the company. There were 8 of them, including Winnie from marketing. They all looked nervous, wondering what the new owner would change. I know you're all worried about what my ownership means, I began. So let me be clear, I'm not here to destroy what Homer built. I'm here to preserve it and help it grow. Will there be layoffs? One manager asked nervously. No, I said. Not unless someone gives me a reason to fire them. Homer built a lean, efficient team. I see no reason to change that. What about the culture? Another asked. The flexibility, the casual environment. That stays, I said. Happy employees do better work. I'm not interested in making everyone miserable just to assert authority. They visibly relaxed. What I am interested in, I continued, is growth. I want to expand our client base. I want to develop new services. I want this company to be more successful than it's ever been. That sounds good, the tech director said. But can I ask, what's your vision for the company? Where do you see us in 5 years? I see us as the go-to marketing and tech solution for small to medium businesses, I said. Companies that are too small for the big corporate firms, but too ambitious for basic services. I want us to be known for exceptional work and exceptional client relationships. How do we get there? Winnie asked, speaking for the first time. By being better than our competitors, I said. By outworking them, outthinking them, and outcaring them. By treating every client like they're our most important client. The managers nodded, seeming impressed. One more thing, I added. I believe in transparency. I'll share financial information with you. I'll explain my decisions. And I'll listen to your input. But at the end of the day, final decisions are mine. Clear. Clear, they all said. Good, I said. Now let's get to work. That evening, I received 3 phone calls. The first was from Sterling. Mom, what the hell is going on? He demanded. Winnie called me crying, saying you bought her company. Is that true? It's true, I said calmly. How? Where did you get that kind of money? From investments I've made over the past 25 years, I said. What investments? Mom, you're a janitor. Sterling, I'm going to say this once and I expect you to listen, I said firmly. I am not just a janitor. I'm also a real estate investor with a multi-million-dollar portfolio. I've been building wealth for decades, and I just purchased a tech company for $9 million. Silence on the other end. Million, Sterling finally said. 9 million. Yes. Mom, that's impossible. We would have known if you had that kind of money. Why? I asked. Did you ever ask about my finances? Did you ever wonder how I managed to pay for your college education on a janitor's salary? Scholarships, Sterling said uncertainly. There were no scholarships, I said. I paid your entire tuition with rental income from properties I owned. $45,000 total for your 4 years at Georgia State. Oh my God, Sterling said. I paid for Royal's education too, and Winnie's. Hundreds of thousands of dollars combined. Money I earned through hard work and smart investing. Why didn't you tell us? Sterling asked, echoing Winnie's question. Because you never asked, I said. Because you were too busy being embarrassed by my job to wonder if there was more to the story. I wasn't embarrassed, Sterling started. You told me not to mention I was a janitor when meeting your coworkers, I interrupted. You said I wouldn't fit in at your company events. You were absolutely embarrassed by me. Sterling didn't respond. We're having a family dinner this Saturday, I said. My house, 6 o'clock. You, Royal, and Winnie, I'm going to explain everything. Be there. I hung up before he could respond. The second call was from Royal. Mom, Sterling just called me with some crazy story about you buying a company. Please tell me it's not true. It's true, I said. How is that possible? Royal asked. Do you know how much companies cost? This one cost $9 million, I said. I paid cash and took out a loan for the balance. You have that kind of money? Royal asked, disbelief clear in his voice. I do. From what? Your janitor job. From real estate investments, I said. 14 rental properties worth about $3 million total, plus savings and other assets. This is insane, Royal said. How did we not know about this? Because you never cared to know, I said. You were too busy being ashamed of your poor mother to ask questions about her life. I wasn't ashamed. You told me I shouldn't come to your company events, I said. You said I wouldn't fit in. Those were your words. Royal went quiet. Saturday, 6 o'clock, my house, I said. Family dinner, don't be late. I hung up. The third call was from Zenobia, my granddaughter. Grandma, she said when I answered. My dad is freaking out. He says you're rich. Is that true? It's true, baby, I said. How come you never told us? Zenobia asked. Because it wasn't important, I said. Money doesn't make you better or worse. I'm the same person I've always been. But you bought a company, Zenobia said. That's so cool. Are you like a boss now? I guess I am, I said, smiling. Can I tell my friends my grandma owns a company? Zenobia asked excitedly. If you want to, I said. But Zenobia, I want you to remember something. Your grandma has always been the same person. When you thought I was just a cleaning lady, I was still me. Now that you know I'm a business owner, I'm still me. The title doesn't change who I am inside. I know, Grandma, Zenobia said. I never cared that you cleaned houses. I just loved that you were my grandma. My eyes filled with tears. Thank you, baby. That means more than you know. I love you, Grandma, Zenobia said. I love you too, I said. My first week, as owner of BrightPath Solutions, was intense. I met with every department, reviewed all current projects, examined financial reports, and made several decisions about company direction. I also discovered some problems. The sales team was underperforming, bringing in new clients, but losing them within 6 months because of poor follow-up. The tech team was overworked and understaffed, 3 developers doing the work of 6. And the marketing team, Winnie's department, was spending money on expensive campaigns that weren't producing results. On Friday afternoon, I called Winnie into my office. Close the door, I said. Winnie sat down, looking nervous. We'd barely spoken all week beyond necessary work conversations. I've reviewed the marketing budget, I said. You spent $45,000 on a social media campaign last quarter that generated exactly 3 new clients. That's $15,000 per client. Our average client is worth about $8,000 annually. That's a terrible return on investment. Winnie shifted uncomfortably. Social media marketing takes time to build. It takes results to justify budget, I interrupted. I'm cutting the social media budget by 70%. I want you to redirect those funds to targeted outreach to businesses we actually want to work with. But cutting that much will force you to be strategic instead of wasteful, I said. Winnie, you're smart and creative, but you've gotten comfortable spending other people's money without accountability. That changes now. You're doing this because I'm your daughter, Winnie said. You're being harder on me than you would be on anyone else. You're right, I said. I am being harder on you because you're capable of better work than what you've been producing, and because you need to prove to me and everyone else that you earned your position based on skill, not favoritism. Winnie's face flushed. I did earn my position. I've been here for 8 years. I worked my way up from coordinator to director. Then show me, I said. Show me you can produce results with a smaller budget. Show me you can be strategic and effective. Show me you're as good as you think you are. Fine, Winnie said, standing up. I will. Good, I said. I'm looking forward to it. After Winnie left, I sat back and thought about what I was doing. Was I being too hard on her? Maybe. But she needed to understand that I wasn't going to give her special treatment just because she was my daughter. If anything, I was going to hold her to a higher standard. On Friday evening, as I was reviewing financial documents in my new office, I discovered something concerning. There were several payments in the books that didn't make sense. Consulting fees paid to a company called SGP Consulting, totaling about $120,000 over the past 2 years. I called Homer, who was still available as a consultant during the transition. Homer, what is SGP Consulting? I asked. We've paid them over $100,000. Oh, that, Homer said. That's a consulting firm that helps with client development. They were recommended by. Actually, I think Winnie recommended them. Do you know what services they provide? I asked. Not specifically, Homer admitted. I trusted Winnie's judgment. They submit invoices, we pay them. Do you have contacts at the firm? I asked. Names, addresses. I'll send you what I have, Homer said. An hour later, I had the information, and what I found made my blood run cold. SGP Consulting was registered to Sterling Green Professionals, my son Sterling's side business. Winnie had been funneling company money to her brother's consulting firm for 2 years, over $100,000. Whether it was fraud or just nepotism, it was wrong, and it had happened on Homer's watch because he trusted my daughter. I sat back in my chair, feeling sick. This was going to make Saturday's family dinner even more complicated than I'd planned. But it also proved something I'd suspected. My children had gotten comfortable cutting corners and using connections without earning things honestly. That was going to change, starting tomorrow. Saturday morning, I prepared for the family dinner that evening. I cleaned my house, cooked a big meal, pot roast, green beans, macaroni and cheese, cornbread, all the foods my children had grown up eating. I also prepared a presentation. Financial documents, property deeds, investment statements, and yes, the records of payments to Sterling's consulting firm. This dinner was going to be part reunion, part education, and part confrontation. At 5:30, there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find all 3 of my children standing there, looking nervous and curious. Come in, I said. They filed into my living room, the same living room where I'd raised them, where we'd celebrated holidays and birthdays, where I'd helped with homework and listened to their problems. Sit down, I said. We have a lot to talk about. Sterling, Royal, and Winnie sat on the couch. I stood in front of them. For the past 25 years, I began, you've all believed I was just a poor cleaning lady barely getting by. You've been embarrassed by me, ashamed of me, and dismissive of my life and work. Mom, Sterling started. I'm not finished, I said firmly. Today, you're going to learn the truth about who I am, what I've built, and how I've been supporting you without you even knowing. I pulled out the first document, a property deed. In 1995, I bought my first rental property, I said. A duplex in East Atlanta. I bought it for $60,000 with money I'd saved from cleaning houses. I held up more documents. Over the next 15 years, I bought 13 more properties. Small apartment buildings, duplexes, single-family homes, all in neighborhoods you probably thought were beneath you. These properties are now worth approximately $3 million, I continued. They generate about $15,000 per month in rental income after expenses. My children stared at the documents, speechless. I used that income to pay for your educations, I said. Sterling, your 4 years at Georgia State cost $45,000. Royal, your time at Morehouse cost $72,000. And Winnie, your Emory education cost $180,000. I paid every penny. You also think I'm some uneducated cleaning lady, I continued. But I've read hundreds of books on real estate, investing, business management. I've taken courses, attended seminars, educated myself. I may not have a college degree, but I'm more financially literate than any of you. I pulled out the final document, my purchase agreement for BrightPath Solutions. And 3 days ago, I became the majority owner of a $15 million company, the same company where Winnie works. Royal found his voice first. Mom, I don't even know what to say. You could start with an apology, I suggested. For years of disrespect, embarrassment, and dismissal. We didn't know, Sterling began. You didn't want to know, I interrupted. You were comfortable thinking I was poor and simple because it made you feel superior. It made your successes seem bigger if you came from humble beginnings. That's not fair, Winnie protested. Isn't it? I asked. Winnie, at Zenobia's birthday party, you called me useless. You said I'd never accomplished anything. You said I was an embarrassment. Winnie looked down at her hands. Sterling, you told me not to mention I was a janitor around your colleagues, I continued. Royal, you said I wouldn't fit in at your company events. You were all ashamed of the woman who made your lives possible. We're sorry, Royal said quietly. We were wrong. We should have treated you better. Yes, you should have, I agreed. But there's one more thing we need to discuss. I pulled out the SGP consulting records. Winnie, can you explain why BrightPath Solutions has been paying Sterling's consulting firm $120,000 over the past 2 years? The room went dead silent. Sterling's face went pale. Winnie looked terrified. It was legitimate consulting work, Winnie stammered. Was it? I asked. Because I've reviewed the invoices. They're vague, generic, with no specific deliverables listed, and Sterling's firm was never properly vetted or compared to other consultants. You just hired your brother and started sending him company money. That's not illegal, Sterling said defensively. It's not illegal if the owner approved it, I said. But Homer never knew Sterling was your brother. You hid that connection, Winnie, which makes it fraud. We're family, Winnie protested. I was trying to help Sterling's business get established. With money that wasn't yours, I said. With company funds you had no right to redirect. That's theft, Winnie, theft from your employer. What are you going to do? Sterling asked, his voice shaking. Are you going to press charges? I looked at my 3 children, successful, educated, and apparently willing to cut ethical corners when convenient. That depends, I said, on what happens next. This story is getting more intense. Subscribe now, smash that like button, and turn on NOTFICTONS. Drop a comment. Should Burrell press charges against her own children? Were Sterling and Winnie's actions forgivable? Where are you watching from? The silence in my living room was thick enough to cut with a knife. My 3 children sat on the couch, staring at the SGP consulting documents spread on the coffee table between us. What happens next? I repeated, looking at each of them. That depends entirely on you. Mom, please, Winnie said, tears streaming down her face. Don't press charges, I'll pay the money back, You'll what? I interrupted. You'll make $120,000 magically appear. On your director's salary after taxes, that would take you years. And that's assuming you don't spend a penny on living expenses. I'll help, Sterling said quickly. It was my company that received the money. I'll pay it back. With what money? I asked. You're an engineer, not a millionaire, and even if you could pay it back, that doesn't address the fundamental problem. What problem? Royal asked quietly. The problem that my children think rules don't apply to them, I said. That you think family connections mean you can bypass ethics and honesty. That you believe you're entitled to take shortcuts because of who you know. It's not like that, Sterling protested. My company does provide real consulting services. Then why did Winnie hide your identity from Homer? I asked. Why were the invoices vague and generic? Why was there no formal proposal, no competitive bidding, no evaluation of your qualifications compared to other consultants? Sterling had no answer. I'll tell you why, I continued. Because if Homer had known Sterling was Winnie's brother, he would have insisted on a proper vetting process. He would have questioned whether this was the best use of company funds, and you both knew that your arrangement wouldn't survive scrutiny. So what do you want from us? Royal asked. How do we make this right? I sat down in the chair across from them, my pot roast keeping warm in the kitchen while we dealt with this mess. First, Sterling will return every penny he received from BrightPath Solutions, I said. All $120,000. I don't care how long it takes. You'll set up a payment plan and stick to it. Okay, Sterling said immediately. I can do that. Second, Winnie will take a 30% pay cut, I said. From $120,000 to $84,000 annually. What? Winnie said. Mom, I can't afford that. My apartment, my car payment. Then downsize, I said bluntly. Move to a smaller apartment. Sell the luxury car and buy something practical. Learn to live within your means like normal people do. That's not fair, Winnie protested. Other employees aren't being punished like this. Other employees didn't commit fraud, I said. Winnie, you're lucky I'm not firing you. The pay cut is your consequence for stealing from the company, and it stays in place until Sterling has repaid every dollar. Winnie started to argue, then stopped. She knew she had no leverage. Third, I continued, looking at Royal, you're going to learn a lesson from all of this. Me? Royal asked, surprised. I didn't do anything wrong. No, but you benefited from my support without appreciating it, I said. Just like your siblings, so you're going to help me with something. What? Royal asked warily. I'm expanding my real estate portfolio, I said. I'm buying 2 more properties next month. You're going to help me manage them. Nights and weekends in addition to your regular job. No pay. Mom, I have a full-time job at the consulting firm, which I helped make possible by paying for your education, I interrupted. You owe me, Royal. All 3 of you owe me. And you're going to start repaying that debt with time, effort, and changed behavior. Royal wanted to argue. I could see it on his face. But he also knew I was right. Fine, he finally said. I'll help. Good, I said. Now, fourth and most important, all 3 of you are going to therapy. Therapy? Sterling asked. Why? Because you have a fundamental problem with how you view other people, I said. You think manual labor is shameful. You think working-class jobs are embarrassing. You think success is only measured by salary and job title. We don't think that, Winnie protested weakly. Yes, you do, I said. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been ashamed of me. Otherwise, you wouldn't have spent years dismissing and disrespecting the woman who made your lives possible. We're sorry, Sterling said. Really, we are, but therapy seems extreme. Therapy is exactly what you need, I said firmly. You need to understand where your attitudes came from, why they're harmful, and how to change them. Because right now, you're raising my grandchildren with those same toxic values. That hit home. All 3 of them flinched. Zenobia is 10 years old, I said, looking at Sterling. Do you want her growing up thinking that people who work manual labor jobs are lesser than her, that cleaning ladies and janitors are useless? No, Sterling admitted. Of course not. Then you need to examine and change your attitudes, I said. All 3 of you, and therapy will help with that. After an hour of discussion, arguments, and tears, we reached an agreement. 1. Sterling would repay $120,000 to BrightPath Solutions at $2,000 per month for 5 years. 2. Winnie would take a 30% pay cut until the debt was repaid. 3. Royal would help manage my rental properties for free for 1 year. 4. All 3 would attend therapy, individual and family sessions. 5. All 3 would publicly acknowledge and apologize for how they'd treated me. Publicly, Winnie asked, what does that mean? It means at Zenobia's next birthday party, at family gatherings, to your friends and colleagues. Whenever it comes up, you tell the truth, I said. That your mother is a successful businesswoman and real estate investor, that she paid for your education, that she built wealth through hard work and intelligence, and that you were wrong to be ashamed of her. That's humiliating, Royal said. Good, I said. You humiliated me for years, now you know how it feels. If we agree to all of this, Sterling asked, you won't press charges. If you follow through completely, every payment, every therapy session, every commitment, then no, I won't press charges, I said. But if you fail to hold up your end, all bets are off. They looked at each other, then back at me. We agree, Sterling said, speaking for all of them. Put it in writing, I said, sliding contracts across the coffee table. Sign these, make it official. They signed. Only after the contracts were secured did I say, now, dinner's getting cold. Let's eat. Dinner was awkward at first. We sat around my dining table, the same table where I'd fed them as children, helped with homework, listened to their dreams and fears. But slowly, as we ate pot roast and cornbread, the conversation started to flow more naturally. Mom, Winnie asked quietly, when did you buy your first property? 1995, I said. You were 10 years old. I don't remember that at all, Winnie said. You weren't supposed to, I said. I kept it separate from our family life. I'd work my cleaning jobs, then on weekends I'd go manage the property. You kids thought I was just working extra shifts. How did you learn about real estate investing? Royal asked. Books, mostly, I said. I read everything I could find at the library. I took free classes at community centers. I listened to people. I cleaned houses for lawyers, business people, investors. I learned from everyone around me. Why real estate? Sterling asked. Why not stocks or something simpler? Because real estate is tangible, I said. I could see it, touch it, fix it when it broke. And because it provided housing for people who needed it. Every tenant in my properties is someone who has a safe, clean place to live. That matters to me. Like what Dad always said, Royal said softly, that everyone deserves a decent place to call home. Exactly like what your father said, I agreed. He didn't know the full extent of my investments, but he knew about some of them, and he was proud. He understood that providing housing was valuable work, whether you're a janitor keeping buildings clean or a landlord providing shelter. We should have understood that too, Sterling said. We should have seen that all work has dignity. Yes, you should have, I agreed. But you can learn, that's what the therapy is for. After dinner, as we sat with coffee and pound cake, Winnie asked a question that had clearly been bothering her. Mom, did Dad know you were building all this wealth? I smiled sadly. He knew some of it. He knew I had a few rental properties, but he didn't know the full extent until right before he died. What happened? Royal asked. About a month before your father's heart attack, I finally told him everything, I said. I showed him all the property deeds, all the financial statements, everything. I told him we were worth almost $3 million. What did he say? Sterling asked. He cried, I said, my own eyes filling with tears at the memory. He held me and cried and said he'd always known I was smart and capable, but he never imagined I'd built something so impressive. He said he was proud of me. Why did you wait so long to tell him? Winnie asked. Because I was afraid, I admitted. Afraid he'd think I didn't trust him. Afraid he'd want to quit his job and retire when I knew he loved his work. Afraid it would change our relationship. Did it? Royal asked. For that 1 month, yes, I said. We started making plans, talking about retirement, travel, things we could do with the money. He was so excited. And then... I couldn't finish the sentence. Judge had died before we could do any of the things we'd planned. I'm sorry, Mom, Sterling said. I'm sorry you lost Dad before you could enjoy what you built together. Thank you, I said. But in a way, I am enjoying it. Every property I buy, every business decision I make, I think about what your father would say. I try to honor his values, helping people, working hard, treating others with dignity. That's his legacy. It's your legacy too, Winnie said quietly. And we almost destroyed it by dismissing you and disrespecting you. But you're learning, I said. That's what matters now. You're learning, growing, changing. That's all I can ask. 3 weeks after the family dinner, real changes started to show. Sterling had made his first $2,000 payment to Bright Path Solutions. He'd also downsized from his expensive apartment to a modest 1-bedroom, using the rent savings to help cover the payments. It's actually kind of nice, he told me when I visited. Less space to clean, lower utilities, and honestly, I was living above my means before. This feels more sustainable. Winnie had moved to a smaller apartment as well and sold her luxury car, buying a reliable used Honda instead. My friends asked why I downgraded, she told me during a work meeting. I told them the truth, that I'd been living beyond my means and made some poor financial decisions. It was embarrassing, but also freeing. I don't have to pretend anymore. At work, Winnie had completely transformed her approach. With her reduced budget, she'd gotten strategic and creative. Instead of expensive social media campaigns, she'd implemented targeted outreach to specific businesses, personal relationship building, and content marketing that cost almost nothing. In 3 weeks, she'd brought in 5 new clients, more than she'd brought in the entire previous quarter with triple the budget. This is excellent work, I told her at our weekly check-in. You're proving what I always believed, that you're capable of great things when you're challenged. Thank you, Winnie said. And Mom, I'm sorry for everything. I see now how wrong I was. I know you are, I said. Keep showing me through your actions. Royal had started helping with my rental properties. He spent Saturday mornings handling maintenance issues, collecting rent, dealing with tenant concerns. I had no idea how much work this was. He told me one Saturday after fixing a leaking sink and dealing with a noise complaint. How did you manage this while working 3 jobs? I prioritized, I said, and I learned to be efficient, and I cared about doing it right because these were people's homes. I get it now, Royal said. Why you care so much about property management. These aren't just investments, they're people's lives. Exactly, I said. Remember that. All 3 of my children had started therapy. Individual sessions to work on their personal issues, and family therapy to work on our collective relationship. The therapist, Dr. Melvina Harris, called me after their 3rd session. Ms. Thompson, I want you to know that your children are taking this seriously, she said. They're doing real work examining their attitudes about class, work, and family. It's not easy, but they're committed. That's good to hear, I said. I'd also like to invite you to join the family sessions, Dr. Harris said. Would you be willing? I hesitated. Part of me wanted to stay separate, to make them work through this on their own. But another part of me knew that healing required participation from everyone. Okay, I said, I'll come. The following week, I attended my first family therapy session with Sterling, Royal, and Winnie. We sat in Dr. Harris's comfortable office, arranged in a circle. The tension was immediate. Thank you all for coming, Dr. Harris began. Today, I'd like us to explore the roots of the shame and embarrassment the children felt about their mother's work. Sterling, would you like to start? Sterling shifted uncomfortably. I don't know where it came from exactly. As I got more educated, got a professional job, moved in different circles, I started to feel like my background was a liability. Your background meaning your mother's work, Dr. Harris clarified. Yes, Sterling admitted. My colleagues came from families of doctors, lawyers, business owners. Their parents had degrees and professional careers, and my mom was a janitor. I felt like that reflected poorly on me. Why? I asked. Why did my honest work reflect poorly on you? Because society values certain kinds of work over others, Sterling said. And fair or not, manual labor is seen as less valuable than professional work. And you accepted that valuation? Dr. Harris asked. Yes, I did, Sterling said. Instead of challenging it, instead of being proud of my mom's hard work, I internalized the bias and became ashamed. That's an important realization, Dr. Harris said. Winnie, what about you? Winnie took a deep breath. I think I was angry at Mom without realizing it. Angry about what? I asked, surprised. Angry that you made it look so easy, Winnie said. You worked 3 jobs, raised 3 kids, never complained, never asked for help. You were so strong and capable that I felt like my own struggles weren't valid. What struggles? I asked gently. Being a woman in a male-dominated field, Winnie said. Dealing with sexism, having to prove myself constantly. And when I'd complain to you, you'd just say, work hard and prove them wrong. You made it sound so simple, like if I just worked hard enough, everything would be fine. But it wasn't that simple for you, Dr. Harris said. No, Winnie said. And I think I resented Mom for making it look easy when it felt so hard for me. So I convinced myself that her work was easy, just cleaning, just manual labor, nothing that required real skill or intelligence. It made me feel better about my own struggles. I sat with that revelation. My daughter had been angry at me for being strong. Royal, Dr. Harris prompted. I think I just followed my siblings' lead, Royal admitted. Sterling and Winnie were embarrassed, so I was embarrassed. They dismissed Mom's work, so I did too. I didn't think critically about it, I just absorbed their attitudes. And now, Dr. Harris asked. Now I see how wrong that was, Royal said. Mom wasn't just working hard, she was building an empire. She was doing what rich people do, investing, acquiring property, building wealth, while also working manual labor jobs. That's incredible. That takes skill and intelligence and discipline I can't even imagine. What I'm hearing, Dr. Harris said, is that all three of you allowed societal biases about class and work to poison your relationship with your mother. Instead of recognizing her achievements, you dismissed them because they didn't fit the narrative of success you'd internalized. All three of my children nodded, looking ashamed. Mom, Sterling said, turning to me, I need you to understand something. Our shame about you was never really about you. It was about our own insecurities, our own need to fit in, our own internalized classism. You didn't deserve that. None of it was your fault, Winnie added. We created a story about you that fit our biases, rather than seeing the reality of who you were and what you'd accomplished. And we're working to change that, Royal said. Not just in how we treat you, but in how we think about work and worth and success. I felt tears streaming down my face. Thank you, all of you. That's all I ever wanted, for you to see me clearly. We're trying, Mom, Sterling said. We're really trying. 6 weeks after buying BrightPath Solutions, the company was thriving under my leadership. We'd landed 8 new major clients, primarily through Winnie's new strategic approach. Revenue was up 18% compared to the same period last year. I'd hired 3 additional developers, easing the workload on the tech team and improving our ability to deliver projects on time. And I'd implemented a profit-sharing program, 15% of quarterly profits distributed among employees based on performance and tenure. The employees love it, Artie Washington, one of my department heads, told me. Morale is higher than it's been in years. People feel valued, invested in the company's success. Good, I said. That was the goal. I'd also made changes to company culture. I implemented a mentorship program pairing senior employees with junior ones. I started quarterly town halls where anyone could ask questions or raise concerns. I created clearer paths for advancement and professional development. You've transformed this place, Homer told me during one of our consultant meetings. I built something good, but you're making it great. You gave me a solid foundation, I said. I'm just building on what you started. But the biggest transformation wasn't the company. It was my family. 2 months after the initial confrontation, Zenobia turned 11. We gathered at Sterling's new modest apartment for a small family celebration. But this party was different from the one 2 months earlier. When Zenobia opened my present, a book about successful Black women entrepreneurs, she hugged me tight and said, "Grandma, thank you. I want to be a business owner like you when I grow up." You can be whatever you want, baby, I told her. The world is full of possibilities. During the party, Sterling's friend from work showed up, one of the colleagues he'd previously been too embarrassed to introduce me to. Mom, Sterling said, bringing the man over. This is my colleague, David. David, this is my mother, Burl Thompson. She owns BrightPath Solutions and has a real estate portfolio worth over $3 million. I saw the pride in Sterling's voice, not embarrassment, pride. Pleased to meet you, Ms. Thompson, David said, shaking my hand. Sterling talks about you all the time. He says you're the most impressive person he knows. He's exaggerating, I said, smiling at my son. No, Mom, Sterling said seriously. I'm not. I spent years being too stupid and ashamed to see what was right in front of me, but I see you now, and I'm proud to be your son. Later, Winnie gathered everyone's attention. I want to say something, she announced to the room of about 15 family members and friends. 2 months ago, at this same party, I said some terrible things about my mother. I called her useless. I said she'd never accomplished anything. I was embarrassed by her work. The room went quiet. I was completely wrong, Winnie continued. My mother is the most accomplished person I know. She built a multi-million-dollar real estate empire while working 3 jobs and raising 3 children. She paid for all our educations without us even knowing. She's now the owner of the company I work for. And she did all of this with no college degree, no family money, no advantages, just hard work, intelligence, and determination. Winnie's voice broke. I'm ashamed that I ever called her useless. I'm ashamed that I was embarrassed by her. And I'm grateful that she's giving me the chance to learn, grow, and do better. She turned to me. Mom, I love you. I respect you. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of the sacrifices you made for me. I stood up and hugged my daughter, while everyone applauded. You already are worthy, I whispered in her ear. You always were, you just needed to see it. Subscribe now, smash that like button, and turn on NOTFICTONS. Drop a comment. Do you think Burrell's children have truly changed? Would you have forgiven them this quickly? Where are you watching from? 6 months after I bought BrightPath Solutions, I stood in front of 200 people at the Atlanta Business Women's Conference, giving a speech I never imagined I'd be asked to deliver. My name is Burrell Thompson, I began. I'm 69 years old. I spent 47 years working as a janitor, a housekeeper, and a nanny. And 6 months ago, I became the owner of a $15 million tech company. The audience leaned forward, captivated. I'm here today to talk about invisible wealth, I continued. About the millions of women, especially women of color, who are building empires in silence while the world dismisses them as just housekeepers, just janitors, just service workers. Because there is no just about the work we do, I said firmly. Every job has dignity. Every honest worker deserves respect. And some of us are doing far more than what meets the eye. The applause was thunderous. In the front row sat my 3 children, all clapping proudly. Winnie had tears streaming down her face. This was a long way from where we'd been 6 months ago. But to understand how we got here, I need to tell you about the journey that brought us to this moment. 3 months after buying BrightPath Solutions, I made a bold move. I acquired another company, a small web development firm called TechBridge Solutions that was struggling financially, but had excellent talent. The purchase price was $2 million, which I financed partly with a loan and partly with the equity from 2 of my rental properties. Mom, are you sure about this? Sterling asked when I told the family. You're taking on a lot of risk. Risk is how you grow, I said. TechBridge has 20 talented developers who are underutilized because the company lacks good management and client relationships. Combined with BrightPath's marketing expertise and client base, we can triple their productivity. What about the cost? Royal asked. He'd become much more financially literate through helping manage my properties and had started asking smarter questions. The loan payments are covered by TechBridge's existing revenue, I explained. We don't need them to grow immediately. We just need them to maintain current operations while we integrate them into our larger strategy. Within a year, the combined companies should be generating 40% more revenue than they were separately. That's ambitious, Winnie said, but there was admiration in her voice, not doubt. Ambition is how you build something meaningful, I said. Your father and I started with one rental house and a dream. Now I'm applying those same principles to tech companies. The fundamentals are the same: find good assets, manage them well, create value for customers. The TechBridge acquisition was announced the following week. The business press covered it extensively. Burrell Thompson, the former housekeeper who shocked the Atlanta business community by purchasing BrightPath Solutions 6 months ago, has struck again, acquiring TechBridge Solutions for $2 million. Industry analysts are watching closely to see if Thompson's unconventional background translates to long-term business success. Unconventional background, I said to Winnie, reading the article in my office. That's a polite way of saying they don't think a cleaning lady can run a business. Let them doubt you, Winnie said. You'll prove them wrong like you always do. We'll prove them wrong, I corrected. This is a team effort. Your marketing strategies, the tech team's development work, everyone's contribution matters. Thank you for including me in that we, Winnie said quietly. After what I did, you could have frozen me out, but you've given me opportunities to grow and contribute. I won't let you down. I know you won't, I said. You've already proven yourself these past few months. And she had. Winnie's performance since taking the pay cut had been exceptional. She was focused, strategic, and creative in ways she'd never been when she was comfortable and complacent. "Mom, can I ask you something?" Winnie said. "Of course." "Why didn't you give up on us?" Winnie asked. "After years of disrespect, after the fraud, after everything, you could have just cut us out of your life. Why didn't you?" I thought about the question carefully before answering. "Because you're my children," I said simply. "And because I remember who you were before the world taught you to be ashamed of where you came from." Sterling used to brag to his elementary school friends about how hard his mama worked. Royal used to draw me pictures when I came home from my night shifts. And you, Winnie, you used to tell everyone that your mama was the smartest person in the world. Winnie's eyes filled with tears. "Somewhere along the way, you forgot that," I continued. "Society taught you that manual labor was shameful, that success only looked one way, that people like me didn't deserve respect. But that wasn't really you talking, that was internalized bias and insecurity. So I didn't give up on you because I knew the real you was still in there," I said. "You just needed to remember." "I'm remembering, Mom," Winnie said. "Every day I'm remembering more." Integrating TechBridge into BrightPath Solutions was challenging but rewarding. We rebranded as BrightPath Tech Solutions, combining marketing and web development services under one roof. We cross-trained employees so marketers understood development constraints and developers understood marketing strategies. Within 3 months, we'd landed 6 new clients who wanted the full package, marketing strategy and web development. Revenue jumped 30%. "This is working even better than I projected," I told the executive team at our quarterly review. "We're ahead of schedule on integration and revenue targets." "The employees are excited too," reported Artie Washington, who I'd promoted to Chief Operating Officer. "They see the vision. They understand how the two companies complement each other." "What about retention?" I asked. "Anyone leaving?" "We've actually had 0 departures since the acquisition," Artie said. "In fact, we've had 3 employees who left last year ask to come back. Word is spreading that BrightPath is a great place to work." "That's what I want to hear," I said. "Happy employees create great work. Great work attracts great clients. Great clients generate revenue. It's a virtuous cycle." After the meeting, Winnie approached me. "Mom, I have an idea for expanding our services," she said. "Can we talk?" We went to my office, and Winnie presented a detailed proposal for adding social media management to our service offerings. "I know I failed with the social media campaigns before," Winnie said, "but I've learned from those mistakes. This would be different, strategic, targeted, with clear ROI metrics and accountability." I reviewed her proposal carefully. It was thorough, well-researched, and realistic in its projections. "This is good work, Winnie," I said. "Really good, I'm approving it. But with one condition, you lead this initiative personally. If it succeeds, you get the credit. If it fails, you own that too." "Understood," Winnie said. "I won't let you down." "I know you won't," I said. "You're not the same person who approved wasteful spending without accountability. You've grown." Winnie smiled. I had a good teacher. 4 months after the TechBridge acquisition, I received an unexpected invitation to speak at the Atlanta Business Women's Conference. "They want me to speak," I asked the conference organizer on the phone. "About what?" "About your journey," she said. "From housekeeper to business owner, about building wealth while working in service industries, about proving that success doesn't look just one way." "I don't know," I said hesitantly. "I'm not a public speaker." "Ms. Thompson, your story is inspiring," she pressed. "There are thousands of women out there working service jobs who don't know they could build wealth too. You could help them. And there are successful women who need to hear about humility and not looking down on others based on their work." I thought about Winnie calling me useless, about years of being dismissed and underestimated, about all the other women like me who worked invisible jobs while building invisible empires. "Okay," I said, "I'll do it." Which brings us to the conference, where this chapter started. 200 women, executives, entrepreneurs, professionals, service workers, all gathered to hear me speak. I told them my story, the rental properties, the secret wealth building, the years of being dismissed by my own children, the purchase of Bright Path Solutions, the transformation of my family. I spent 47 years being invisible, I said. People saw a janitor, a housekeeper, a nanny. They didn't see a real estate investor. They didn't see a businesswoman. They didn't see someone building a multi-million-dollar empire. Even my own children didn't see me, I continued. They were embarrassed by my work, ashamed to introduce me to their friends, convinced I was useless and had never accomplished anything meaningful. But I wasn't useless, I said firmly. I was strategic. I was patient. I was building something while everyone else was looking down on me. And when the time was right, I revealed what I'd built, I said. I bought the company where my daughter worked. I became her boss. I showed her and the world that the useless cleaning lady was actually more successful than anyone had imagined. The audience erupted in applause. But here's the most important part, I said, waiting for quiet. The goal wasn't revenge. It wasn't about humiliating my children or proving I was better than them. The goal was teaching them, and all of you, that every person has value regardless of their job title. The woman cleaning your office might be a real estate mogul, I said. The man serving your food might be an investor. The nanny watching your children might be building an empire. You don't know people's full stories just by looking at their job. So treat everyone with respect, I concluded. Not because they might secretly be wealthy, but because every person deserves dignity and respect regardless of their wealth or status. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. After the speech, dozens of women approached me with their own stories. I'm a hotel housekeeper and I've been saving to buy rental property, one woman told me. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. Your story gives me hope. I'm a nanny and I've been day trading stocks, another said. I've built a portfolio worth $200,000, but my employer has no idea. She treats me like I'm stupid. I clean houses and I'm putting myself through nursing school, a third woman shared. My clients talk down to me like I'm uneducated. They don't know I have a 4 GPA. Story after story of invisible women building invisible wealth while the world dismissed them. Keep going, I told each of them. Build your empires, prove them wrong, and when the time is right, reveal what you've accomplished. 5 months after my conference speech, something unexpected happened. Sterling came to me with a proposal. Mom, I've been thinking, he said. You're building this business empire. You have Bright Path Tech Solutions, 14 rental properties, and plans to expand further. You need help managing all of it. I have help, I said. I have employees, managers. You need family, Sterling interrupted. People you can trust completely. People who are invested in your success because it's their success too. What are you proposing? I asked. Let me quit my engineering job and come work for you full-time, Sterling said. I'll manage your rental properties, handle maintenance, deal with tenants, oversee new acquisitions. You can pay me a fair salary and I'll earn my way up. No special treatment, but let me be part of building this legacy. I studied my son carefully. Why? You have a good job, you're doing well. Because I want to build something that matters, Sterling said. I've spent years working for someone else's company, making them rich while I collect a paycheck. I want to build something with you, something we can pass down to Zenobia and her future children. This is a serious commitment, I warned. It's not a guaranteed salary at a corporation. It's hard work, long hours, and no safety net. I know, Sterling said, but it's what I want if you'll have me. I thought about it for a full week before giving him my answer. Okay, I said. You can join the family business, but you start at the bottom. You're not a manager or an executive. You're a property manager earning $45,000 a year. You prove yourself for at least 2 years, then we talk about advancement. Done, Sterling said immediately. When do I start? 3 weeks later. Sterling quit his engineering job, and started working for me full-time managing rental properties. Royal approached me 2 weeks after that. "Mom, if Sterling can do it, I can too," Royal said. "Let me quit my consulting job and work for you. I'll do whatever you need: property management, business development, expansion planning, anything." "You don't have to quit your job to be involved," I said. "You're already helping part-time." "I want to be all in," Royal insisted. "I want to build this with you. I wasted so many years being ashamed of you instead of learning from you. Let me make up for that by being your partner in building something great." I hired Royal at the same starting salary as Sterling, $45,000 a year, with the same expectations. Prove yourself, earn advancement, no shortcuts. And Winnie. She stayed at BrightPath Tech Solutions, but with a new understanding of her role. "I'm not just your daughter who happens to work here," she told me at our 6-month review. "I'm an employee who needs to earn my position, and I'm going to keep earning it every single day." "You already have," I said. "Your social media division is now generating $300,000 in annual revenue. You've proven yourself multiple times over." "Then it's time to talk about restoring my salary," Winnie said. "Not because I'm your daughter, but because I've earned it." I reviewed her performance metrics, her contribution to revenue, her leadership of the new division. "You're right," I agreed. "Effective next month, your salary goes back to $120,000. You've earned it." 1 year after buying BrightPath Solutions, I made my boldest move yet. I purchased a fourth company, a struggling consulting firm with excellent client relationships but poor financial management. Purchase price, $3 million. Combined with BrightPath Tech Solutions and my rental properties, my business empire was now worth approximately $22 million. "Mom, you're building something incredible," Winnie said at our family dinner, celebrating the acquisition. "An empire that started with one rental house and is now worth over $20 million. "We're building something incredible," I corrected. "All of us together." Sterling, Royal, and Winnie looked at each other, then back at me. "Mom, we need to talk about something," Sterling said seriously. "What?" I asked. "Your will," Sterling said. "Your estate planning. Mom, you're 69 years old. You've built this massive empire. What happens to it when you're gone?" "I've thought about that," I said. "I've updated my will recently." "And," Royal prompted. "I'm leaving everything equally to the three of you," I said. "The businesses, the properties, everything, but with conditions." "What conditions?" Winnie asked. "First, you can't sell the businesses for at least 10 years after my death," I said. "You have to run them, maintain them, grow them. You can't just cash out and walk away." "Agreed," all three said immediately. "Second, you have to maintain the company culture and values," I said. "Treating employees well, providing good services, helping clients succeed. You can't turn these into soulless corporate machines that only care about profit." "We would never," Winnie promised. "Third, you have to keep providing affordable housing through the rental properties," I said. "You can raise rents with market rates, but you can't displace long-time tenants just to maximize profit. These properties serve a purpose beyond making money." "We understand," Sterling said. "And finally," I added, "you have to teach Zenobia and any future grandchildren these same values. That all work has dignity. That success comes in many forms, that you treat everyone with respect regardless of their job or status." "We promise, Mom," Royal said. "We'll honor everything you've built. We'll preserve your legacy." "Good," I said, "because this legacy isn't about money. It's about proving that anyone can build something meaningful if they work hard, stay focused, and refuse to be limited by other people's expectations." 1 year after buying BrightPath Solutions, we threw a party. Not a family party, a company party. All 175 employees of BrightPath Tech Solutions gathered at a rented event space to celebrate our first anniversary under new ownership. The numbers we were celebrating were impressive. Revenue up 55% from the previous year. Client retention at 92%. Employee satisfaction, at the highest level in company history. 3. Acquisitions successfully integrated. Expansion into 2 new markets. Recognition from industry publications as one of Atlanta's fastest-growing tech companies. A year ago, many of you were skeptical when I took over, I said in my speech to the employees. You saw a 69-year-old woman with no tech background and wondered if I knew what I was doing. Laughter rippled through the crowd. And honestly, I wondered the same thing sometimes, I admitted. But I knew something that transcends industry-specific knowledge: how to treat people well, how to build relationships, how to create value for customers. Those principles work whether you're managing rental properties or running a tech company. This success belongs to all of you, I continued. To the developers who stayed late to meet deadlines, to the marketers who landed new clients, to the project managers who kept everything running smoothly, to every single person who chose to trust this company and give their best effort. As a thank you, I'm announcing 2 things, I said. First, everyone in this room is getting a bonus. 5% of your annual salary paid out next week. The crowd erupted in cheers. Second, I'm expanding our profit-sharing program, I continued. Starting next quarter, 25% of company profits will be distributed among employees. The better we do collectively, the better you do individually. More cheers. Because I learned a long time ago that when you take care of people, they take care of you, I said. That's how you build something that lasts. After the speech, employees came up to thank me, share their stories, express their appreciation. And in the middle of the crowd, I saw my 3 children, Sterling, Royal, and Winnie, all working the room, talking to employees, building relationships, embodying the values I'd taught them. They weren't embarrassed anymore. They weren't ashamed. They were proud. Proud of me, proud of what we'd built together, and proud to be part of a family that understood that success isn't about titles or degrees. It's about character, effort, and treating people with dignity. 2 years after buying BrightPath Solutions, I received an invitation that brought everything full circle. The Chen family, Homer and Melvina, whose house I used to clean, invited me to dinner at their home. I arrived at the familiar house, where I'd worked twice a week for 8 years. But this time, I entered through the front door as a guest, not through the back as the housekeeper. Burl, Melvina said, hugging me warmly. Come in, it's so good to see you. We sat in their beautiful dining room, the same room I'd cleaned hundreds of times, as their guests. We've been following your success, Homer said. The acquisitions, the growth, the recognition. You've taken BrightPath further than I ever did. You gave me an incredible foundation, I said. I just built on what you started. But you did more than that, Homer insisted. You transformed the culture. You've made it a place people are proud to work. And you did it all while managing a real estate empire and raising a family. Speaking of which, Melvina said, how are your children? We heard they all work with you now. 2 of them work directly for me managing properties, I said. And Winnie is now vice president of marketing at BrightPath. They've all grown tremendously over the past 2 years. They must be so proud of you, Melvina said. They are now, I said with a smile. It took some time and hard lessons, but they finally understand that their mother isn't just a cleaning lady. Though honestly, I'm still proud of the cleaning work I did. It was honest work that served people. That's a beautiful perspective, Homer said. And it's part of why I wanted to have this dinner. Burl, I have a proposal for you. What kind of proposal? I asked. I still own 20% of BrightPath, Homer said. I've been watching from the sidelines, and I'm convinced you're the right person to own this company long-term. I want to sell you my remaining shares. I was stunned. Homer, that's worth millions. $4 million, to be exact, based on current valuation, Homer said. But I'm not looking for a windfall. I'm looking for the right steward for something I built. So I'm offering to sell you my 20% for $3 million, 25% below market value. Why would you do that? I asked. Because you understand what I built and why I built it, Homer said simply. You'll preserve it, grow it, and keep treating people well. That's worth more to me than an extra $1 million. I thought about the offer. It would give me 80% ownership of BrightPath, making me the dominant owner with complete control. I accept, I said, and thank you for trusting me, for seeing me as more than just your housekeeper, for giving me this opportunity. Burl, Melvina said gently, you were never just our housekeeper. You were always an extraordinary woman. We're honored to have known you and to be part of your journey. 3 years after my daughter called me useless, I sat in my office at BrightPath Tech Solutions, a company I now owned 80% of, reflecting on the journey. My business empire was now worth approximately $30 million. I employed over 200 people directly, plus dozens more through my rental properties. My children had transformed from embarrassed, ashamed adults into proud partners in building something meaningful. Sterling managed a rental portfolio that had grown to 20 properties. Royal handled business development and expansion. Winnie led a marketing division that was the most profitable in the company. And my granddaughter Zenobia, now 13, had started her own small business, a dog-walking service in her neighborhood. She kept meticulous financial records, saved 70% of her income, and talked about buying her first rental property when she turned 18. Just like Grandma, she told everyone proudly. The woman who'd been called useless, who'd been an embarrassment, who'd never accomplished anything, she'd built an empire. But more importantly, she taught her children and grandchildren that success isn't about titles or degrees or prestigious jobs. It's about character, effort, integrity, and treating every person with dignity regardless of their work. That was my legacy, not the $30 million, not the businesses or properties. My legacy was the lesson that everyone has value, that no honest work is shameful, that you can build an empire while cleaning houses and raising children, that you can be underestimated, dismissed, and looked down on, and still prove them all wrong. My daughter said I was useless. She went silent when I bought the company she worked for. And then she learned, they all learned, that their mother was never useless. She was building something extraordinary all along. They just couldn't see it until she was ready to show them. What an incredible journey. Burl went from being called useless by her own daughter to building a $30 million empire. She bought the company where Winnie worked, transformed her children's attitudes, and created a legacy that will last for generations. This story proves that people will underestimate you, use it as fuel to prove them wrong. Honest work has dignity, no matter what society says. Success isn't about titles, it's about character and effort. Family can learn, grow, and change when challenged. Building wealth silently is powerful. Reveal it when the time is right. The best revenge is success and transformation. If this story inspired you, please subscribe to this channel for more empowering stories. Smash that like button. Turn on notifications for new video. Drop a comment. What was your favorite moment in Burl's journey? Have you ever been underestimated because of your job? Where are you watching from? United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Jamaica, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, Australia, Trinidad, India, Philippines? Let me know. Remember, never let anyone make you feel useless or ashamed of honest work. Build your empire in silence if you need to. And when the time is right, show them exactly what you've accomplished. You are capable of more than they can imagine. Thank you for following Burl's powerful journey from dismissed housekeeper to business mogul. May her story inspire you to see your own worth, build your own empire, and never let anyone make you feel less than extraordinary. Until the next story, stay strong, build silently if needed, and never forget your value.